President Trump had a couple of good rulings when it comes to immigration, including the green light from the Supreme Court. All kinds of stuff going on.
And everything's going down on Twitter.
That's right. Everything's going down on Twitter and in the court system. And President Trump had a couple of good rulings when it comes to immigration, including the green light from the Supreme Court to build the wall, billions of dollars to build the wall. If he wants to do it, he doesn't have to go to Congress for that. So now there are no excuses if he doesn't have at least something built in short order. Joining us to talk about this is the author of Resistance is Futile, who you can follow on Twitter at Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to you, Alexa.
Hello, Ann. How are you?
Not bad. I was one of those people. Actually, I'm great. I was one of those people having cocktails by the pool rather than paying attention
That
to the
sounds
news.
so peaceful.
But as luck would have it, I've been haranguing the public and the president about the president building the wall using Department of Defense funds because he's, commander-in-chief, basically since he was elected. Even before that, in the case of the president himself.
Well, so then what was your reaction
I'm glad we finally got
this
this
court
ruling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little deference to me would be appreciated. Please just hang on my every word and do everything I say. And if you wouldn't mind filling up the rest of the program with clips of me on the 800 times I have said on KABC and elsewhere, use Department of Defense funds. They can't stop you. You are commander-in-chief.
Were you surprised that the vote was as close as it was? Because I wasn't surprised at the outcome, but I was surprised it wasn't like a 7-2 vote.
No, I mean, watching the court over, I don't know when it started, but the liberals on the court are like the liberals we see on MSNBC. Many of the ones we see in the U.S. Congress. There's just, I'm sorry, I know this sounds like it's throwing mud and just calling names, but there is a very distinctive difference, and it is all about partisan politics. I mean, start with Clinton's impeachment. Here's an actual example, so it isn't just saying they are irrational and will vote their politics and will not vote law or common sense or logic, but what they're supposed to be ruling on is law, not what the outcome they want. You have conservative justices who, quite the contrary, will come up with rulings that go completely against their presumed political proclivities because that's what the law says. But back to Clinton's impeachment, all of the impeachment movements, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable that not one Democrat in the Senate voted to remove Bill Clinton for repeated proved acts of perjury, suborning of perjury, proved with DNA evidence, with telephone recordings. In addition to, of course, just the character issues of molesting an intern in the Oval Office, then to be suborning her perjury, along with the perjury of others, going in and having a deposition taken in a case that was a civil rights case against him. I mean, I'm fed up with Trump. One day of Clinton's impeachable conduct doesn't compare, or anything Trump has done doesn't compare to one day of what Bill Clinton did. Can you imagine if Trump were caught on tape suborning someone's perjury in a civil rights case against him? Would there be any Republican who would not immediately vote to impeach and remove?
Yeah, he'd be
As
gone.
happened pretty much with Nixon. But no, not the Democrats. Nope. He kept abortion safe, legal, and rare. Well, except for the rare part. Nope, he has a D after his name. Absolutely, or pedal to the metal. And that's the way the Supreme Court has been for a long time.
Okay, so now they have told him he has access to billions of dollars to build the wall if he wants to. How long should we give him before the wall needs to start going up?
February 2017.
How long do you think it'll take before he starts to send the construction crews down there?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see, as he likes to say. It's very weird, and I mean, these idiotic tweets he sent when I was having cocktails by the pool. I'll tell you one great thing about being fed up with this guy is I don't have to defend every stupid thing he does. If he starts building the wall, I will defend him. I will explain that when he complained about the rats and rodents in Baltimore, yes, as a matter of fact, there are a lot of chinchillas running around. But what does that mean, rats and rodents? What other rodents does he have in mind? And why is he just viciously attacking a lovely American city? But if he's building the wall, I will 100% defend him. Until then, he's on his own.
All right. I don't have as much of a problem with the tweets because Baltimore has a lot of problems, as does Los Angeles, San Francisco. And we shouldn't be called racist for pointing out that these cities are poorly run.
But it does seem to distract.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, Alexis. And, this is going to be the entire presidential campaign. There's really no reason to vote to reelect Donald Trump. And then you look at the Democrats. It's like both sides are doing everything they can to lose this election.
Well, all the polls say that it's going to be pretty tight, depending on who the Democrats nominate, and everyone's just kind of going to go in their corner.
Well,
their base is demanding insanity and unelectable positions. When you have Democrats saying, yes, I'm going to take away your private health insurance, and Democrats, how about I'm sorry, I know we've talked about this a lot, but the Julian Castro coming out for abortions for transgenders. We're going to have federally funded magic wands waved over.
But where does he come down on the Brazilian waxes?
To make them feel good. Meanwhile, President Trump's ICE is still paying for hormone therapy for transgender illegal aliens crossing the border. So, okay, give me a reason to vote for you again, Mr. President. But then you look at the Democrats, and when Julian Castro said that, okay, he's just one guy, he's not going to be the nominee. Might be the vice president the way that party's going. But nobody on the stage laughed. None of them said, what are you talking about?
No, the audience cheered.
The party of science.
But yeah, I have a question for you because, how does Trump then, as you said, you were making this point. I think a lot of people voted for Trump because he promised to deal with this immigration issue. Do you think he can get those voters back? And do you think, now that the courts kind of said, hey, you can go ahead with this, do you think he has political cover here to say, hey, I've been wanting to do this, but I've been obstructed? Do you think there's a way for him to perhaps get people like you back on board?
Yes, I will still probably hate him, but who cares? I won't say so publicly anymore. Yes, he's got to build the wall. No more BSing. We're down to the last second, and I don't think it bodes very well. If I had any other choice of someone who would, not only say the right things, but actually do them when he gets elected, I would vote for that person. But no, the Democrats have decided we're going to oppose Trump by making ourselves completely unelectable, by being for 100% open borders. He has the money. If he would just go and build the wall. You see Chris Kobach is already building a portion of the wall. He's not even an elected official anymore. He's using the company that built the wall for Israel. They could get a substantial amount of the wall up before the next election. They could also... of course, President Kushner, President Mercedes Schlapp, all the rest of the President Koch brothers. If Trump is worried about getting reelected, and I think he should be, in the end, I'm going to vote Republican. As John knows, I ran the webpage getdrunkandvoteformccain.com. So no matter how bad the Republican is, I will eventually. That my vote isn't going to help you. There are a lot of Democrats in the industrial Midwest. Trump won Michigan by 10,000 votes. You're going to sacrifice their votes for, to make Wall Street happy, to keep sending these stupid tweets. But yeah, if he built the wall, and you're right, Alexis, he can also claim, oh, I couldn't. It was held up in the courts. If only I were president and part of a co-equal branch of the sole holder of a equal branches power. Of the three branches, I'll lecture your listeners on something they know but the president doesn't. Three branches of government, but it's spread among, 535 members of the legislature, of the Congress. That's one branch. So how much power does any one senator have? It's 535th. You have the judicial branch with I don't know, but more than 1,000 judges. That's spread in more than 1,000 people's hands. Only the executive branch, the entire power of the executive branch is in one man's hands. And he's claiming 1/1,000th of another branch is stopping him from doing, or has stopped him until now, from doing the number one job of the president: protect our borders, protect the people living here. Nobody ever wonders, well, he can just, Ivanka can show him, pictures of mangled children. Ivanka will cry and he'll start bombing innocent civilians in Syria. Oh, sure, everybody accepts that president has the right to do that, but he can't protect us on our borders. That's what the U.S. military did for the first 200 years, build fortifications along our borders. But yes, to answer your question, he could win us back if he'd just finally do it.
We're talking to Ann Coulter, who you can follow on Twitter at Ann Coulter. I want to go back to the Democratic primary for a second, because you're on to something here where they think they're going to win regardless of who they nominate. So the nuts of their party, who are screaming the loudest, seem to be pushing the party in that direction. And they could theoretically end up nominating someone who is not only way to the left of the country, but way to the left of the median Democratic voter. The last time they did that was with George McGovern. And the Republican that was nominated, Dick Nixon, was hugely unlikable, not particularly, if you look at his poll numbers, wasn't polling particularly well, yet he managed to win in an absolute landslide.
Trounced him.
Because the country just will not accept a complete left-wing lunatic. If they nominate someone who's screaming about abortions for transgendered women, or going to porno movies with their mother, or eliminating your private health care insurance and doing Medicare, not for all, but Medicare for all the world, they're going to lose regardless of what Trump does.
I hope so. I'm a little nervous about that. Incidentally, your analysis is absolutely 100% accurate, and I've noticed. I forget there was another one that was very liberal, but at least two op-ed writers on the New York Times, and I don't even read them that regularly, but Tom Friedman and Frank Bruni have come out aggressively in columns saying, Democrats, would you please stop being open borders? You're going to lose if you're open borders. Of all the positions, even the magic abortions for transgenders, it is their open borders position that's hurting the most. And what's weird about it is, I mean, just in 2016, Bernie Sanders, the big lefty socialist from Vermont, he was attacking the open borders crowd, saying that's a Koch brothers idea. That's bringing in cheap labor for the employers. They love open borders. Oh yeah, they can get a worker for $3 an hour. Guess whose wages it's driving down? He absolutely opposed open borders, said you need national sovereignty in order to protect the weakest members of society. But now it's this weird thing. If Trump is for it, they're going to prove how much they hate him by going to 180 degrees the opposite side, which is so stupid because he's not doing any of his popular policies. Why not just steal his popular policies from him, but say, unlike him, I'll actually do it? That is going to hurt them the most. I am afraid, however, that their calculation could be right. I mean, that's the nightmare scenario. I think it's not the most likely, but it's possible that they nominate some hardcore left-winger deciding, screw it, we're going to win anyway. And then Trump disappoints some portion of the people who voted for him. Whomever it is, it won't be Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, a good portion of the country has been detesting for the last 4 decades. She wasn't a good candidate. She didn't even campaign in the industrial Midwest. As I mentioned, Michigan, Trump won by 10,000 votes. A lot of suburban mothers may say, or that type, all kinds of voters, will say, can we just stop this, the anger, the Antifa, I hate being yelled at, and being defending all these allegedly racist tweets, and let's just make this go away. I don't think it'll make it go away, but they may think that way. I could see a not Democratic candidate, not as likely as a good Democratic candidate. I could see a scenario where it's not 1972. It's more like 1964, and the country is thoroughly wrecked in 10 minutes.
But Hillary did not run as a left-wing nut last time. She ran as just a typical machine Democratic politician. And you're right, people had personal animosity towards her, but her politics weren't radical, especially compared to this new crowd. I just have a hard time believing that you're going to get people to vote for a nut who otherwise, who could stomach Hillary, but only stomach her to a certain point, who are then going to turn around and vote for someone who's going to take away their health insurance and open up the borders and all of these things that Hillary said she wouldn't do.
Well, I think it's not the most likely outcome. And the one way to absolutely shut off that outcome, or even a sort of moderate, by moderate, I mean not, men with nets shouldn't be chasing him. Candidate is if, as we were talking about, if Trump builds a substantial portion of the wall. He could have stopped all of this if he had kept his promises on immigration. Think of the unemployment rate. It would be zero now, particularly for the working class, for blacks and Hispanics. He made all those promises to black supporters, to black voters considering him, saying, what the hell do you have to lose? Give me a chance. Everything gets easier if you build a wall, deport illegals, and limit legal immigration. Everything. Funding for Medicare, welfare fraud, crime issues. But one issue that gets better really fast is black unemployment. Not only because you have a lot of African Americans in low-wage jobs, but number two, construction jobs are fantastic for African Americans who are just coming into the workforce. Young kids. They're young and have a lot of energy. And, well, if you watch MSNBC as I do, one of the big complaints is they had this campaign, block the box, block the box. They don't want employers being able to ask, do you have a criminal record? And it is true, there are a lot of young black men who have some sort of criminal record, but it's also true that for a lot of jobs, I'm sorry, that does make a difference. Maybe we don't want you working at a nursing home, if you've been convicted of robbery. One place where even felony convictions make no difference and they're good-paying jobs is on construction. What we wanted was construction of a wall. We wanted all that infrastructure spending. It would have made such a difference right now. We wouldn't have to worry about even an Obama-type candidate, and luckily we won't be running against Obama ever again.
All right. Ann Coulter,
he's a good candidate.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Enjoy those cocktails by the pool.
Good to talk to you. Bye, Alexis.
Bye.
All right. And don't forget to follow Ann on Twitter at Ann Coulter, and, of course, read her columns at anncoulter.com. It's 8:24. Let's take a look at the road.